I am a co-owner of a C-Corp. The C-Corp owns real estate. Let's just stop and have a moment. Which is the C-Corp's primary place of business since 2003. They grouped them, but instead of having them separate, they decided to put it in the same business. All right, we would like to get the real estate out of the C-Corp and into an LLC. Is this feasible? What steps need to be taken to minimize tax consequences? Jeff, what are the tax consequences?
Well, my suggestion is you sleep in the bed you made, because the tax consequences are, you have to recognize the gain on the fair market value of the property in order to get it out of the corporation. If you could always put it in an LLC inside the corporation, but to pull it out could have very large tax consequences.
All right, and this is for David. Three issues here, right?
Mm-hmm.
A, are we liquidating that C-Corp? If we're liquidating it in your portion of the real estate is not greater than your basis in the C-Corp, then technically we could get out of this without getting smushed. But that's not going to happen. More than likely, what we're going to have to do is perhaps we convert it to an S-Corp, and then you have built-in gain.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, and what the IRS does is what they tax you at 21% and keep the asset as though it's held in the C-Corp. And then if it pays it out to you, then you'd have dividend.
Yes.
So you're going to get hit with about 36% tax if it's a sizable amount. Other option, which you may or may not like, is to buy it from the C-Corp at its fair market value, get an appraisal, set up an LLC, and have the LLC buy it as an installment sale over a period of years, and to acquire that property over time and let the C-Corp recognize that income over a longer period window. Is that right?
Yep.
Can you think of anything else?
Not really, because we've talked about with it having been in so long, that's a lot of depreciation and a lot of appreciation combined. So we've had them where they put real estate into the corp, and we've been able to pull them back through shareholder loans to kind of offset what was going on. But I don't see that happening here. I really don't like converting it to an S corporation, because we're really not accomplishing anything. We're not separating the real estate from the business.
Yeah, they did this because, I mean, I know why most people do this. So there's a rule that says if I have real estate and I'm leasing it to my own business, I can group those two activities as a single economic enterprise. So if I'm making money in my business, but I'm losing money on the real estate because of depreciation, I can use that depreciation against my business income without even qualifying as real estate professional. That's why they did it. And now they're going, crap, which I get. So you're probably, realistically, you may want to just continue down this path. And eventually you're going to sell the C-Corp. Maybe if you sell the C-Corp, don't take the property out of it, just sell the C-Corp and let somebody else deal with it.
So if we put an LLC inside the C-Corp and shove the real estate down into the LLC,
no tax, it's just fine.
But do we get any liability protection that way?
Yes, we get liability protection inside. So the property, let's say the property burns down and causes fatalities or horrific, like they would be stuck in the LLC no matter what. So at least we keep it out of the business. If the business, however, gets into financial peril, that LLC is an asset that's available to the creditor of the business. So chances are we would isolate it in an LLC inside the C-Corp, unless there's a good reason, just crunching the numbers, then in which case you may want to sell it to an outside LLC. Or if you have sufficient basis, like you dumped a bunch of money into the C-Corp over the years, you and your other owner, since you said co-owner, and you have enough basis, it's just the gain on the property that you got to worry about, right? So it might be that you look and saying, hey, let's transfer it out to the shareholders. And if you have enough basis, it may not be taxable. So you're going to look at those things, but there's really three things. I wouldn't switch to an S-Corp. That'd be the one I'd rule off the table right away. unless there's a real compelling reason, I'd be looking at, should I distribute it or should I buy it? And if your if your company is going to wind up anytime soon, you might want to just wait there and do it at that point. If you're going to keep the business going, you might want to do the sale. So I hope that was.
No, I agree with that.